Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome to this training. My name's Carlos Redlich, and I've got my good friend Justin Christianson on the call today. What's up, Justin?
Hey, Carlos. Thanks for
Good. How
having me.
are you? Good, man. I'm happy you were on this call. The reason I wanted to bring Justin on here is because we've been connected online for a little bit, but we just connected in person at a couple mastermind events, local here in Arizona, and he's got a really cool story that I want to dive into. But one of the things that I thought was really cool is he's one of those folks who was able to sell his agency, and I think that's something that you don't see as often as you would think maybe nowadays. And when I met him and he said that, I was like, man, this guy's so down to earth, so cool, and he's accomplished so much. I really just kind of want to learn about what he's doing and how he's done it. So Justin, man, thanks again for coming on. And I'd love it if we could kind of start right at the beginning in regards to how you got into this marketing world, and let's just start there.
Okay. Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me. Happy
Yeah.
to, share whatever I can, hopefully some value out of it.
100%.
But yeah, I started, I guess, my journey 20, almost, yeah, this is year 22 for me. So I've been doing it quite a long time. Got introduced to network marketing, believe it or not, about 22 years ago. And I quickly figured out that I could not just bump into people in the mall and ask them if they wanted to make extra money. That just wasn't my game. And then I found the wonderful wide world web. So I found that and basically figured out I can generate leads from there. So I kind of took that knowledge of that, of not wanting to do something, found an easier and better way, the internet, quickly kind of move up the ranks through the affiliate world, information publishing world, became partners on a company that I was, the number one affiliate for. And we grew that company from about 600,000 or so in revenue to about 4.5 million the first year. Wow. Then we took it from 4.5 to almost 10 the next year. And then I exited that company actually and sold it back to my business partners. It was my time to leave. That was, I guess, 12, 13 years ago now. Based on some information that I published there, people were wondering why, what I could do to help them with implementation and optimization, and started a small consultancy, quickly figured out that I was a one-man show, couldn't really do it all myself. Partnered with a longtime friend. Fast forward today, almost 9 years after that, we 6 months ago, we're acquired our main, agency after we grew it from basically $1,500 and an idea to, a multi-million-dollar business just by rolling up our sleeves and getting to work. And, it's been quite a journey. Had lots of ups and downs and lots of different verticals, but I've seen a whole heck of a lot in the last, 22 or so years, before AI, before even products to build landing pages. I mean, we were before AdWords, it's all of this, Facebook, video chat didn't exist, those kinds of things. So we've seen all the emerging trends and, the cycles. And I like to kind of reminisce and say the good old days when you could rank for keywords in 2 days and, sub penny clicks on AdWords and, all of this. If I would have known what I know now back then, kind of hindsight stuff, we could have done some serious damage. But been fortunate enough to work with some amazing companies, over the last 9 years. Continue to do so. Everything from we worked with companies like Clorox Corporation, Dow Jones, 1-800-Flowers, NBC Sports. I mean, we've worked with some incredible, amazing organizations, many emerging brands we've seen basically come out of nowhere and help them scale as well. So yeah, we've seen an absolute truckload of stuff in there. But my story,
it almost sounds like you're a scaling specialist because you started with this network marketing company thing, right? And then you were like, all right, I'm not going to be like doing the home meeting thing, or at least bumping into people, telling them to, you can make money. So you started doing lead generation. Was lead generation online even a thing with network marketing companies back then?
Well, no, because we just moved into the info product. So we figured out that we could basically generate leads with an essential loss leader, what we call lead magnets or, ethical bribes today, your free report, your free thing. And actually I have the saying that marketers ruin everything because we basically do. which I'm sure we'll figure out a way to screw up AI here pretty soon too. Since that's the new hot trend, and I know you're big on that trend right now too, but we ruined eBay. So back then we used to basically blast post eBay listings for a penny.
Ooh.
So we would list this report for a penny, and they would buy this free report for a penny. And then to get the report, they had to fill out an email address.
Oh,
So
slick.
we would reverse hack eBay, and we generated just tens of thousands of leads for almost nothing. Because, you know, then you'd post a listing for 30 cents and you'd literally, I mean, it was absolute madness. And that's how we were able to rank. And then we would support it with, like, you know, SEO rankings and article stuffing and doing all of those things to kind of break it. But yeah, lead generation really hasn't changed in that regard in all the years. I mean, the landing pages still roughly look the same.
Yeah.
The graphics and technology have been upgraded, but I say nothing's changed in the 20 plus years I've been doing this. It's just the mediums have changed.
Well, that I'm glad you said that, because it was leading into like one of the next questions I had, which is, like, you've been in the game for so long. Have you noticed, other than the mediums, but have you noticed if like the strategies are changing, or is it still like for the most same stuff? Like, go into that a little bit, because that's really interesting.
No, I mean, honestly, if I break it down into this, and a lot of people ask me, really, and I'm not saying that because a lot of people actually say that, but people ask, like, what's that biggest differentiator? And if I've worked in a certain vertical, my answer is, do you sell to people? The mediums have changed, but people inherently have not. So they have, I mean, you're a copywriter, so it's the same. Your methodology and strategy and everything, when I was writing long form sales letters 20 years ago, hasn't changed. The psychology of buying hasn't changed.
Mm-hmm.
So people have wants, needs, likes, dislikes. You know, they buy for two reasons: to avoid pain, gain pleasure. You know, the old adage, it's marketing 101. You find that hot button and you twist the knife. And it's not that, and I don't think anything's really changed. I just break everything down into specific demographics. So if it's just like your customer avatar, just like anything else, it doesn't matter what you're selling, whether you're selling services, whether you're selling art, whether you're selling cell phones, it doesn't matter. I've sold literally everything from personal injury law firm leads to timeshare exit strategies to teeth whitening kits. It doesn't really matter to me what you're selling, because people are there for a pain or a pleasure point. And the psychology of a woman 25 to 35 is going to be the same, whether it doesn't matter what you're selling. She's still going to respond or shop the same way. You just have to figure out how they interact with that specific brand. So really nothing's really changed. I mean, way back when I learned from Dan Kennedy and all of those cutting my teeth, you know, to like Jay Abraham and Carlton and all of those guys. I mean, you might enjoy this, but I actually currently get to do work with Gary Bencivenga.
Oh, that's great.
So I bought his $5,000 program freaking 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And I get to test his copy literally every day.
Wow.
And it's so humbling to come full circle. I'm actually getting goosebumps thinking about it, because, you know, and I've been interviewed by Jay Abraham on his show. It's like you come full circle to all these marketing greats, and it's like, wait a second, it's like, how did I get here when I was your student, you know, not too long ago? But yeah, the mediums, that's the only thing that's really changed. I mean,
so how did you, not to jump too much, but you just mentioned some really cool names here, and I'm curious, like, how did you get into those circles?
Found in the virtual pavement. So like you said, I'm in the intro, like, I try to have the humble aspect to it. And I'm often humbled. Like, I'm humbled every single day, because there's always a next level. There's always somebody doing bigger. There's always something doing better. But I kind of live by this motto, kind of give without want, and in turn you'll get, my entire career. And I do that to this day. Like, I talked to a company this morning that it's just not the right time. I just cannot help them. But I gave them literally $10 million worth of advice, but they can't hire me because they're not at the right spot.
Sure.
And I'm going to make some amazing intros for them. So I take that approach that I just show up every day and am consistent and persistent with my message. My message hasn't wavered in forever. even with conversion rate optimization and what we've done with the agency, from the minute we started to this morning, my message hasn't changed. My methodologies might have been adapted to the conditions in the marketplace, but I show up to podcasts. I've spoken on stages. I've, sponsored events. I've done all of these things, the articles I write. My message has been consistent and persistent, and eventually that stuff compounds. So you get into those kind of circles, and then they seek you, and the introductions and the network and the frame. I know you're big on networking too. So it's you build those circles and those trusts. And I come at things with an open mind and no real agenda in what that outcome is going to be. I don't show up and do interviews like this expecting something in return.
Right.
Right. I think everybody's out for a money grab. And at a point in my career, sure, was I chasing dollars? Yeah, everybody does. But you get to a certain point in it that when you're able to say no and you come at it from a place of kind of giving and not a place of need, then the psychology behind it and your mindset shift changes. Because us having this conversation today might not produce anything.
Sure.
It might, it might not drive business to me or whatever. Hell, it might not even drive business to you today or tomorrow or next week, but you might have a conversation a year from now or a year and a half from now and be like, oh yeah, I saw you on such and such. I've been one instance, like I wrote a book on optimization, and I have given out and sold, many, many thousands of copies of it. And I literally got invited and paid to give a corporate training to an executive board and executive and their board of directors. They flew me out to Chicago first class. They paid me a hefty sum, put me up in a 5-star hotel. I gave a 4-hour talk, all because his other speaker fell through and my book was on his shelf.
Wow.
So you have those conversations and it just all kind of comes full circle. And I think if you, again, give without want, the universe just kind of finds its way back to you. And that's really just how I built it. And that's how we built the agency from nothing to something. And we just
let's go into that actually, because the agency, so I know there's a lot of people who are going to be listening to this that either have an agency or maybe they're just solopreneur freelancers and stuff, and they're wondering, how did this guy build an agency? Because the first thing when you said it, I was like, man, this guy sold his agency. I mean, I know companies that have done that as agency owners, but it's like, I find it's rare. I don't see a lot of agency owners selling their agencies as much. They either get burnt out or something else happens, or I don't know. But you're one of those few that I found is like, I don't know. I'm looking at you as like, here's the light, man. Let me follow what this guy is doing and learn from him, which is another reason why I wanted to bring you on this podcast. I was like, I know I'm going to get some real good info.
So the big thing there is, and there's a lot of people teaching the agency model.
Yeah.
Again, marketers ruin everything. So they flood the market with all these people that think the agency model is going to be the way to go. Of course. Honestly, the agency model is the hardest business model I've ever done. You're dealing with a lot of personalities. You're dealing with a lot of different moving parts. And as you get to different levels of scale, it becomes more complicated. So we basically started the agency with an idea. Everybody's teaching traffic. Nobody was teaching the optimization piece, which helped us collectively build our other previous businesses. We were just split testing craziness. And fanatics, really, because the name of the company ended up being Conversion Fanatics. But
awesome.
We were really just fanatical about split testing and the psychology of buyers. And, what do you mean I could change this one thing on the page or this one word and people, 10% more people will fill out the form. So we started that. Nobody wanted to learn it. They just wanted us to do it for them. So we found a need in the market. We saw what else was in the market. People were not doing it. It was not a done for you solution at the time. So we said, we'll just be the done for you solution. So we went into it started with a few clients. It was just me and my business partner at the time with a couple outsourced designers and an admin. And then it turned into hiring our first employee and just kind of building on the systems and processes. So we got really good about delivering the product before we got good at selling the product. Which I think a lot of people have that reversed.
Yeah.
they come at it like, let's just throw up a Facebook funnel and we need our webinar going and we need all of this stuff. We found our traditional, and I think this happened by accident, honestly, because I come from the info world. So you place an ad, you throw up a landing page, you generate the lead, you nurture the lead, you sell the product, not, wash, rinse, repeat, scale, go. And that didn't work in agency services model. It can for some nuances. I mean, I've seen some of your stuff that you're doing, but it can work. But at the time, nobody really knew what conversion optimization was. So we had to really educate them on it. Whereas they saw, okay, you run Google ads, great. I know exactly what that is and I need that. Sign here. Conversion optimization, they're like, what? Split testing? I kind of heard of it, not really sure. So we were forced to get really good about delivering the product.
Yeah.
Then it came back to selling the product, and traditional methods didn't work. So then we had to find how to make it work. And we took a page right out of Salesforce, like literally their playbook for generating leads and outbound. And we went hard at, knocking down virtual doors. We mailed, hundreds of thousands of contacts on cold email and direct mail, and just that combination of a lot of things. We sponsored every trade show and pretty much any event that you possibly think of, from Ad World to Traffic and Conversion Summit to, we were going coast to coast with teams and booth setups and, the whole thing that, and all of it kind of compounded. But it all comes down to, how did we do it? Being consistent with the message, giving a damn about our product or service, which I've lost way too much sleep to even think about over the success or failure of campaigns.
Right.
Because it's my name tied to it. I've got a 20+ year track record in the industry. So it's like, if my team fails or something's broken or something falls apart, it's on me. And I took everything personally building it.
That can be tough.
And it resulted in having a big process and systems flow. So everything we did, we turned it into a simple, replicatable process that somebody that it didn't need to be me to do. So I don't need to go in and execute the split test. I can just help support the strategy, and the team flushes out the idea from design to development and executes on it. And then the sales engine of it now is kind of reversed, where we're not virtually knocking on doors. It kind of compounded into an inbound strategy. Now ads work. Now all of those pieces work. So, I booked 3 sales calls. I think we've booked 3 sales calls today so far just from inbound,
Wow.
So I don't have to worry about knocking on those virtual doors because our ads are working in multiple different places. But then it just comes down to monitoring your metrics and your numbers, treating it like a business, because a lot of agencies don't. They're a solopreneur. They might have a small team. They might have a handful of things in play. And we just got really good about documenting our systems and our processes, getting the pieces of the puzzle in place that aren't me, aren't my business partner, that could make the engine run. So, I've done very little in terms of optimization today, other than approving a couple designs, because the system's already set in motion and we already had our game plan going into Friday. And really, I mean, we can have literally a whole podcast on just the selling process, but
well, I'm curious because you've said it a few times, and this is what I'm glad you did, about systems and processes. And that's one of the things that my buddy Garrett Navia, I guess I really don't know exactly what he does, but one of the things he does is him and a pool of investors buy businesses, whether it's e-com businesses or soccer teams or whatever else. And he always talks about, he's like, you got to get your systems and processes down. And he's the first person to have kind of shined that light on my business, because he saw me early on, like kind of doing everything or outsourcing things and delegating things, but I'd still have to repeat the same thing over and over. He's like, dude, you'll never sell this business. And I, first off, at the time, didn't even think about selling it, but he was like, you can never sell that. You can't, like, there's no duplicatable system. There's no replicate. Like, you are literally, if you die, the business dies. You need to have some systems. I'm curious, what kind of systems, and I don't know if it's too broad of a question, but like, what specifically are some of the first things we should pay attention to when we're trying to put some systems together?
I mean, every little piece of the business. Don't think about just the product and the delivery of it. It's, how do you hire people? How do you train those people? What's your lead generation look like? What's your sales process look like? What does your accounting process look like? What does your onboarding process look like? What's your offboarding process look like? Every little piece of that needs to be documented. So we go in and we can quickly bring somebody up to speed, a new hire, on exactly what they need to do. We have a company handbook. We have all of these pieces. Here are the training videos you need to go through. Here's the document you need to read. Here's the things you need, the steps you need to go. And that goes for new hires. It's like, okay, we need to set them up with an email address. We need to, get them ingrained in Slack, and just all of those little pieces. There's no gray area on how we do that specific thing. And we just document it. That's literally it. And like, I find, like, even my director of optimization, my right hand, if he has to repeat himself more than once, I'm like, just flip open Loom and record a damn video of it. And then you don't have to do it again. It's like, he does that with our development team, because they might have the same question 4, 5, 6 times. And instead of him doing a training and taking time out of his day to do it all, here's a video that I showed you guys how to do this 6 months ago. Here, see if that helps. If you have further questions, then we can address them at that point. So it's alleviating the bottleneck, basically taking 40 hours worth of work and distilling it down to 2. And luckily my business partner was extremely good at that. Still is one of the smartest guys I've ever met. And he is really good about taking the chaos and making a process to it and fine tuning it down to something that is streamlined and simple and easy. Like you mentioned, like accounting systems, where we had everything dialed in with a $350 a month outsourced bookkeeper. We're talking running a multi-million-dollar business.
Yeah.
With a $350 a month outsourced bookkeeper that I've literally met one time. And I would basically never hear from her ever, because the systems were all there. She knew exactly which bank account, which credit card, then if she did have a few questions, it would come back with, oh, here's my questions for this month. I'm just not sure what this charge was, because it was an anomaly in the books. And we'd be in and out. I spent 2 minutes a month doing accounting. It's like, those little things are all documented and easy to go. Sales process too. It's like, okay, the lead comes in, it's fed into a certain channel, it gets added to this CRM, and then the sequence starts, and here's the booking sequence, here's the follow-up sequence, here's all of these things are just there. So if it wasn't me, all I'd have to do is I could literally say, hey, you're in charge of sales tomorrow. And they pull a lead, they add it to the system, they click go, they book the call, everything's locked in there. Just like a funnel walks you through that exact process. You just take every little minute detail and systematize it, and you just document it. So when people think systems and processes, you already have a system for something. You already have a process for doing something specific. Like you showed me your story ads the other day. You're like, oh, here's my process for doing it. Click, click, click. So write that down. That's your process for ads. You compound that with your 5 other efforts. And now you have a standard operating procedure booklet on how you do lead generation, or how you generate, clients with whatever certain aspect of it, down to how they're billed, how they're, and buyers are all going to look for this. So they're going to go through everything with a fine-tooth comb. They're going to do things like quality of earnings to make sure your clients are who they say they are. And
you're talking about a buyer for your business, like a
yeah.
Gotcha.
So they're all going to question all of these things, your accounting systems, or what do you do when you do this? And what happens if this happens? And those questions all come up. So you have to have that executable and easily passed across. Because if I take an afternoon off, or I have, I'm doing a podcast interview, I know that stuff's getting done. It's not like it's, for example, I just saw there was 3 split tests posted for approval. We had another team that posted a status update on some implementations, and 2 leads came in. So it's like all in the time we've just been talking. So
that's so cool.
And I didn't have to
do. It shows how you can run the business runs on its own. That's credit to you guys for putting all those systems together. How long did it take you to go from starting this agency with your business partner and then selling it, really. Like, I mean, that
Right at 9 years.
9 years. Okay. And then so was the at what point did you start developing this system and
Day
like
one.
day one? Okay, so you start developing it from day one. That's huge. Very rare for someone to do that. So this is like you're setting
Like I said, we developed the product and how to deliver that product
right.
first before we went over, and then we had to figure out how to sell it. So we kind of got a trickle from our warm market. We kind of cut our teeth on screwing up our warm market essentially,
Yeah.
And some low hanging fruit. And then we had to go out to the cold market and then convince them to do it. So, but yeah, it took us way longer. So we started the company literally with the idea in mind to sell it.
Wow. Okay, so that's that's got it.
That was our goal. It took us
That's
way longer than we thought it was going to because we're used to info products. We could scale them quick. 6 months, we're, at scale. It's not
right.
hard.
Right.
Agencies like, Jesus, this is hard. But we got it down and we did it. But yeah, it took just about 9 years, and it took about a year. So I guess it's January. So we listed last January with a broker to find a partner because we knew we needed to expand.
So actually, let's get into that. I know you're kind of doing it, but it's great because you're answering the questions I was already thinking in my mind. How do you even go? So let's say you've got these systems in place and you're like, all right, this is getting to the point where I think I want to start selling it. Like, how do you know when is the good time to sell? How do you go about selling it? Like, how do you find these people as a connections? Dive into that if you can a little bit, because that's really where my mind is going.
Yeah. So once you get to a certain level, you're going to get people knocking on your door, asking to sell. Yeah. So we started even just a couple of years into the business, we got approached to do a IPO roll up with 18 companies. We were going to go on the London Stock Exchange. It was a stupid amount of money. We went through all of this due diligence and all of this stuff. 2 days before IPO, the cards fell out, like the bottom fell out of it. It was right about the Cambridge Analytica time with Facebook and all the data breaches and all of that mess. So all of the international investors were tied up. They weren't liquid. So they couldn't raise the funds. So that fell out. So then we got to thinking, okay, we got kind of now that got the wheels in motion a little bit more about private equity and all of these other pieces of business that I wasn't really privy to until then. I've heard about them, but really didn't know how they operated.
Yeah.
But we've been approached, turned down multiple different offers, but you'll get messages in your inbox of tire kickers constantly when you reach a certain level.
That's
like, oh, you interested in selling your business? Hey, we're this private equity fund or whatever, you're going to get those. So we kind of had failed 5 or 6 attempts. I'd say failed. We turned down quite a few. A couple of them got some legs, and then we just ended up not being the right deal. So come last January, we decided to list it. So actually found a broker that had a track record, and we decided to just see what we can do to find a partner. A partner really to, I guess our philosophy on it was take some chips off the table, because I'm still part of it. So I still retain some rollover equity, and I'm an executive at the parent company that acquired us. So I've still got some skin in the game in terms of that. I'm running the CRO team essentially.
Gotcha.
But we wanted a partner, so a place for our staff to be able to expand, meaning they have job growth capabilities, something bigger than us. Expand services, so something that it would just be too costly to do internally. We were really great at one thing, expanding to other areas of marketing, just even though we understood it and we understand it and know it, it's just very hard to start from scratch, when you have the built-in client base. So we found a partner. We vetted 111 potential buyers, or they did, the broker did. We narrowed it down. We had 11 conversations, I think, meaning we had serious like Zoom calls with the funds, with the buyers, answering a lot of kind of secondary and preliminary questions. And then we narrowed it down and got 3 letters of intent. And then we had to narrow it down to basically who we thought was the best fit. So then it was now us interviewing them. 2 in-person meetings. We picked one. One I had to fly to Austin. The other group flew here to Scottsdale, where we met and narrowed it down. From that time, from the time we signed the LOI, it went, I think it was 111 days.
Oh, okay.
something like that.
It
From
doesn't
that.
seem like that long. It's only like it's not that long. I don't know
Um,
what the normal length is.
well, they say it could take, I mean, really it took August, so it was 7.5 months that it took us from listing to close.
Okay.
Which is faster than a lot
Right.
of businesses of that size, because it just takes time and finding the right partner and doing all the due diligence and all of that stuff that they need to do on that end. But we were a very simple business and very laid out and very methodical, and nothing, we didn't have any debt. We didn't, we started it with basically nothing. So there was no complexity to it. It was like, here's what it is. And every buyer was like, what's missing? Like,
I'm like, what's the catch? What's the catch?
like we don't get it. Like, this is way too simple. I'm like, yeah, we've been trying to tell you guys that. It's like, it's simple. And that's the way we liked it.
What was it like when you guys I mean, this is more of like an emotional question, but like what was it like when you guys picked your partner and I guess the deal was signed, so to speak? How did that feel? Was it like, oh my God, this is a decade of work and it's finally here? Like, I can only imagine.
Few things. So one, that process of selling is the most emotional, stressful, taxing process I have ever been through in business.
Wow.
Anybody you've talked to that's done anything of size that sold their business will say the same thing. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of unknowns. It's a lot of pushback and not hearing updates. And it's a lot of back and forth and expense. You're dealing with attorneys and legalese, and I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages of legalese and quality of earnings checks and all of these third-party law firms and accounting firms and all of these things that come into it. And then literally your life's work, because you're focused on the sale process and you're not focused on the business. So you're trying to keep the business intact, something you've done forever. And, your whole livelihood's over here and you're trying to make something big happen on the other side. So you have that kind of tied emotion to it. And then when it finally happens, it is totally anticlimactic.
Oh my gosh, no way.
Yeah. It's the opposite of what you think it would be, because you have all of this buildup and this emotion and all of this energy poured into it. And then the wire clears and you're like, yeah, so that's that. And it literally came down to, I laugh because I've bought and sold real estate and I've done that. And that's more exciting than selling a business. So you have a notary come out and you're signing papers and you're talking and you're chattering. Literally, they send over some signature files, sign some papers online. So nobody's coming to my house. Nobody's coming to the office. Nobody's
giving you a glass of wine or champagne or anything.
None. And literally the day of close, when they're ready to fund it, they come in and they'd be like, all right, so you guys ready? You guys ready? Yeah, we're ready. The attorneys give the thumbs up. They said, all right, escrow is released. We're done. And they literally a quick email and they say, congrats. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, there it is. And that was it. After the fact, I'm still dealing with this a little bit since it's about 6 months in.
Okay. Still fresh.
It's still fresh. We're still dealing with integration and moving everything kind of over. I'm still very much on the client side, but I'm kind of finding my way in my new role, and handing off a lot of those systems and stuff and incorporating it into now their systems, which is a different story. But they have, it's really hard to explain, but it's like a piece of you's gone almost. I don't regret it from that sense, but that was my identity for a long time, and I'm still finding it hard to say that I'm not the co-founder and president of the company that I founded, that my face was on, that I'm the expert. I was the video, I wrote the book, I did all of those things. And I'm still kind of trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up now, because it's that part of that chapter in my book is closed.
Yeah.
So I'm on to new and bigger and better things, but I don't know what that looks like because that was everything I've poured my blood, sweat, and tears into. So I hear a lot of people will say that you almost get depressed. And I've heard this from multiple people. It's like you just have that piece that you had so long that it's taken away from you almost. But even though you still have it, it's a weird thing unless you kind of explain it. It's kind of like that thing, because I know you're a dad. So I had a friend that when my daughter was born, who's now 12, I asked him, he has older kids, and I was like, what's it like being a dad? What's it like being a dad? And he was a close friend of mine as my wife's pregnant and approaching and all of this stuff. And he's like, I can't explain it. Like, I just can't explain it. I texted him as soon as my daughter was born, and the only words he said to me were, now you know.
Yeah, now you get it.
And now you get it, which, you know, that experience, nobody can take that one away from you.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing. I kind of equate it to it. It's not quite at that level, but
Right.
It's like your baby. I remember Manish and I throwing $750 each into a bank account and saying, hey, let's go do this. Let's no egos. Let's just go see what happens. Let's have this mission in mind. Let's just do everything we can. What's best for the business. If we don't agree on something, we don't do it. And that's how we built it. That was it. We never butted heads one time in almost 9 years.
Wow.
Had the most amazing partnership. One of my closest friends, one of my closest advisors. Anything I have to bitch about or vent to, he's my guy.
Right.
Vice versa. So, we just went at it like that. But the after effect, it's still fresh.
Yeah.
But it's a different feeling. It's like, okay, yeah, okay. Because you've done so much for so many years and, big profits and revenues, and you've seen the big numbers and you've seen the downs and the ups. And, the one time where we were at a marketing event, it was like we spent 25 grand to sponsor this event, and we basically didn't have enough cash to cover payroll.
Wow.
It's those kinds of things, the cycles in business. And we're like, if we don't walk out of here with at least 10 new clients, we're screwed.
Right.
So we're closing deals in the elevator. I was literally swiping credit cards on my phone in the elevator. For
Wow.
deposits. And we walked out of that event with 11 clients.
Wow.
Because it's like, hey, this is it. This is the last hurrah. Like, we're going down if we don't come out swinging. And we hustled. And there was multiple times
over here, man. That's like,
there was a year where we didn't get paid.
Yeah.
It's like you have to kind of sacrifice some of that things if you're in the right direction. But it all comes down to, we were persistent and consistent with the message. And that was it. And I was never any fluff. I didn't overpromise all of this stuff. It's like, I was realistic. Here's what we are. Here's what we do. Here's what it's going to cost. And do you have a guarantee? No, I guarantee one thing. We're going to try really hard. And that's it.
Exactly.
And we're going to use everything we can to go at it. And that's really how we built the entire business. It's not, I wrote this big long post for social. Maybe I'll post it on Facebook. Maybe I won't, but it's the same thing. Like, I just say there's no secret to business success. That's it. Are there stepping stones and GPS to help get you there? Yes. But are there secrets? No, it's not. It's just showing up consistently and licking your wounds and going about it. And there's times, my wife can attest to it. There's days that I'd lay awake at 2 a.m. wondering what the hell, and it's, every entrepreneur has it, and it sucks. But it's like the old saying, it's like, man, I gave up my 40-hour work week so I could work 80 kind of, just for the hope.
Yeah.
But there was times where it's like, I didn't know. I had a small little office I leased for like $400 a month, and I didn't know if I was even going to be able to make that payment at times. Starting out. So it's, we started literally meeting at Einstein Bagels with our couple of outsourced contractors, and we got a big office, and then we had a full staff and all of this, name on the front of the building type situation. And then now that office doesn't even exist anymore. And, we closed it and went all virtual, and the cycles in business and the lessons learned in there. But
Dude, this unbelievable. I mean, believable because you just laid it out, but just an incredible story. What so I know you don't really know what your next step is just now because we just kind of talked about that. You're still trying to figure it out, but where are you thinking? Because I've seen you. I don't know what I mean. Every time I've seen you at these last couple of masterminds, you're just the coolest guy there, the calmest guy, probably one of the most successful, if not the most successful. And it just seems like you're at peace, but it almost looks like you're looking for something. I don't know what, but that's the impression I got. And I was wondering,
I mean, I'm always looking for a place to add value. Like even that last event that we were just at, you know, for me, it was just cool meeting like people like Grant, who's done like these amazing things with these ad campaigns. And he called me actually yesterday and left me a voicemail. And I emailed him because I was busy, but it's like you meet all of these people, and I'm just humbled by meeting all of these certain people, like meeting you first, you know, after being connected for months on and moving here and being connected through social meeting, and then meeting like Brandon and stuff, who I've been connected with even longer on social, way before I was even moved to Arizona. And I'm always kind of looking for a place to add as much value as I can. Again, give without want.
Yeah.
But I am kind of hunting for what's next. I'm pretty passionate about investing right now. So I have a lot of real estate, that's kind of been my passion for a lot of years. And the last couple of years, I've been fortunate enough to kind of go in pretty heavy in there. I got off a call this morning with a longtime acquaintance / friend back from Austin that's doing some incredible things with like business flipping situations.
Interesting.
So we're kind of reviewing and talking about some things there, but right now I'm really just focused on what's best for, you know, where Conversion Fanatics landed.
Yeah.
In my new home, you know, I've got some obligations there that I have to, you know, in hopes to then flip that bigger enterprise is kind of the goal. And the mission that we're on right now. So we're trying to integrate the systems, and I fly out next week to corporate headquarters for a couple of leadership meetings, and just kind of trying to find my spot in there. But I literally just show up to, like I said last weekend, I just show up to it with no agenda. I look at it, and if I can offer advice or some expertise or some guidance, I'll do it. And it's served me well so far, and I just continue to do it. So I just kind of focus on what I can control and focus and hold on to. I don't pay attention to a lot of the noise. Right. The older I get, the more I do, the less I care about the noise. So, and one caveat to that is, even building the business, is I met with a very high profile CEO in Austin years ago. Literally, I had my assistant reach out to him, a guy that literally started a company from nothing and went public. The guy's worth, I don't even know, he's got to be a billionaire by now. I showed up in a suit, like asked him out to lunch. It was just totally weird. He shows up in flip-flops and shorts. He's like, "What are you dressed up for?" He said, "We live in Austin." I'm like, okay. Because I'm usually like, literally, I'm wearing a hoodie and shorts, and I'm slides. You know, it's like,
yeah, you look like a poker player, man.
Except for my shirt doesn't say copywriter on it.
That's
so
right.
But it's I met with him and I said, because he had basically stepped down from the company that he founded and grew. You know, their billboards are like in all airports and stuff. Like it's one of those types of companies. He stepped down and started this new like video surveillance type company. Took a big round of funding from Michael Dell, like all of these things. And I asked him, I go, "Who's your competition?" He shrugged his shoulders. He goes, "I don't know." He said, "I know who they are." He said, "I don't pay attention to them." He said, "All I am trying to do is build the best product or service that I can and take care of my customers. And the rest of it kind of figures itself out." So I've lived by that for a very long time. I mean, he was one of our first clients. Like,
oh, wow.
We ended up getting that video surveillance company as a client.
Wow.
And it was like 6 months into starting the business. You know, it's not all because of that meeting. And my assistant happened to reach out to him just because we saw him in like the local newspaper as a business leader that just moved to Austin or something. And
she just messaged him.
Just cold messaged him, and he said, "Yeah, sure. I'll take lunch."
That's unbelievable.
So, So that's kind of things. And I've stuck by that. Like, I honestly don't know who really the competition are in our space. I know there are a lot of agencies doing a lot of things, but I honestly don't care.
Yeah.
All I care about is, did we deliver on our system and our process? And that's how we built it. It's not, I wish there was some secret, but
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like what you talked about in your there's no secrets. It's just
there
showing up.
isn't.
Yeah, just showing up.
It's part of it too is you see all of these agency guys. I mean, we make jokes on it on social media where this week everybody's an AI expert. Last week they were a Bitcoin expert. And last week they were a God knows what expert. And then it was, NFTs before that. And then it was like everybody is an expert at something depending on the week.
That's true.
I've been a conversion rate optimization guy every single week for more than a decade.
Mhm.
I haven't jumped the ship on the latest fad or trend. Have I dabbled in some of it in silence? Sure. But that's not what I'm about. Like, it's not the next less thing to kind of grab a buck.
Right.
And that's really what the secret was, is just be too stupid to quit, I guess, is probably part of it.
Dude, no, this is it makes so much sense because people know who you are, you're true to yourself, you're not shifting around, you're a media buyer one day, a copywriter the next day, something else. And now people know who you are. And that, I mean, there's like credibility just in that, because there's just like you said, in the marketing world, people can jump ship, left and right every week based on whatever trend or new platform is out or something else. And yeah, so I mean, and as I listen to you say that, I'm like, all right, that's good, because one of the things I've tried to do is stay like, I'm a copywriter, that's who I am, but I still use whatever trend or whatever thing might be coming out. I'll still try to incorporate and stuff. But even with this AI thing, I've tried to be careful with not kind of pigeonholing myself or branding myself as like the AI guy, because what I do is I'm like, hey, I'm a copywriter and here's how I'm using AI in my marketing, right? That's kind of
And
it.
you have to do that,
Right.
because as soon as Google and Microsoft adopt this, they're going to watermark it. They're going to do all of this stuff. It's going to ruin SEO. Can you use it as a tool in your toolbox? That's what I say. It's the markets haven't changed.
Right.
The medium's changed. What used to take me a day and a half to build a landing page, I can do in a couple hours now.
100%.
It's that kind of thing. Whereas AI might give you a starting point, but it's like a Filipino wrote your PLR product that you're trying to do it. So then you have to come out with your language and, tweak the hook and write the headlines and adapt it and mold it to your audience. So it's those tools in the toolbox. It's just not, that's the only thing really that's changed. And as long as you do that and you're not the AI guy, or you're not the known for just your NFTs, or not just known for whatever latest gimmick you came out with. The guy I talked to this morning, he was big early on. So he's a young entrepreneur, big early on kind of fake it till you make it. When I first met him, like, he was like, I'm going to buy all this prop money and we're going to do this. And he built this massive group with it. And he bought the houses, the cars, the watches and all of that stuff. And then he would sell this coaching and consulting, and they'd show up to the coaching and consulting like, what watch you wearing today? Where's the cars? That was what it was like.
Oh God.
And he's like, God, I got so tired of that it was just like, he went the opposite direction. Like, he just completely folded into something different, because, while it looks good on social media, it's exhausting. So he got rabbit holed and pigeonholed into that flash kind of piece, even though he's very smart and has done some incredibly big things. It's just like, do you really need that Lamborghini?
Exactly.
It's like, we talked about it at Josh's house too, that first time when I kind of offended him, but on him having a Lambo. But, I personally, the more I do, I like nice things, but it's not, I don't need, when I sold the company, I didn't go out and buy a Ferrari. I didn't go out and do those things. My lifestyle really didn't change. Nothing changed.
Yeah.
It's just the opportunities
It
change.
just seems like you really know yourself too, and that's something that you can. I think people can feel that too. I mean, if you get a Ferrari or whatever, because it's just like what you wanted, I think people can get that sense. You know what I mean? They can feel that versus like you're getting it just so you can use it in your ads, for example,
Yeah.
whatever.
And that is, I'm glad you said that, because there's a lot of self-work that came from it. Complete side story. I was a recovering alcoholic. I'm almost 10 years sober.
Wow.
Literally April will be 10 years. I used to be fat and out of shape. Like I was almost 100 pounds heavier than what I am now.
Oh.
I'm in the gym 6 days a week. I'm single digit body fat. Like it's those kinds of things that I've realized about myself, that I don't have to hide that kind of stuff if I just take care of what's number one with me. And that's what I do.
Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of authenticity I think does come out in a lot of ways. And not to say that I wouldn't drive a Ferrari, but
Right.
like,
Well, that's what I mean. It'd be
but
because
next week it gets boring, because like, you know, then it just becomes the excitement of that purchase, that it's just like another thing.
yeah.
You know, I bought the 500 horsepower muscle car, you know, and I did all of that, and it's like, okay, after 2 months, it's like, Jesus, this thing's loud. God, this is dumb. You know, it's like, it's fun to drive, and then it's just on to the next thing. It's like, I just never got into that cycle of jumping ship. Could I have gone out and bought another Rolex? Could I have done all of that? It's like, sure, but do I really need to?
Right.
You know, it's like the same thing. So, you know, it's just whatever you feel is the best for you. But I mean, in the circle, it comes down to that. I guess I was just too dumb to quit. And that's really, at the end of the day, that's what it was. And I'm still not going to quit. I mean, I'm only 42 years old. So it's like,
Oh, dude.
you know, it's like, what's next? You know, but for now, I'm going to continue optimizing websites, and it's going to be what I do.
I love it, dude. Justin, thank you so much for coming on here. Let me interview you, man.
Yeah, no problem.
Where is there? I don't know. I don't know if you have anything to sell. You just sold your business, but where can people like connect with you and learn more about you and stuff?
You can go to conversionfanatics.com.
Sweet.
That's still a lot of stuff there. There's a lot of articles and stuff. I'd like to say we update the blog, but we don't. Still a lot of great historical stuff. You can find copies of my book on Amazon, etc. Called Conversion Fanatic. And then onespotsocial.com/Justin Christianson, all one word, is all my social stuff. But I'm on Facebook, and there's YouTube channels and all that stuff out there. So if anybody wants anything, actually, if you go to conversionfanatics.com/free book, I think that's still up. Let me see.
We're about to find out.
I don't know if they took down the link or not yet. No, it's still there. No opt-in required even.
Oh, even better. Look at that.
Download the PDF.
Let's go. So
PDF copy of the book.
So where can they go for that one?
Conversionfanatics.com/free book. No spaces, no nothing, just straight up.
Perfect. Dude, thank you so much again for coming on. I really appreciate this. This was awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
And guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll see you guys in the next training.